What are adverse childhood experiences and how do they impact children? Let's take a look. Adverse childhood experiences are stressful events that happen during childhood. The word adverse means to prevent success or development. Adverse events are harmful or unfavourable to the child. There are three categories of adverse childhood experience: abuse, neglect, and household dysfunction. Understanding adverse childhood experiences can really help us support children who've experienced them and may be experiencing childhood trauma because of them. So we're going to look at each one in turn with the aim of avoiding them in the care that we provide and being able to support children who've experienced adverse childhood experiences. The first category of adverse childhood experience is abuse. Abuse means cruel or violent treatment to a person or an animal. In the case of adverse childhood experiences, it means cruel or violent treatment to somebody under the age of 18. There are three types of cruel or violent treatment within the abuse category of adverse childhood experience: physical abuse, emotional abuse, and sexual abuse. Physical abuse is an intentional act causing injury or trauma to a child by use of bodily contact. Emotional abuse is the act of continually mistreating someone in a way that causes emotional or mental harm. Sexual abuse is any form of sexual activity between an adult and a child under the age of 16, or any act of sexual contact with someone of any age with the use of force, violence, threats, fear, or deception. The second category of adverse childhood experience is neglect. Neglect means failing to care for someone properly. In the case of an adverse childhood experience, this means failing to care for someone properly who's under the age of 18, so they're uncared for and their needs are not met. There are two types of failure to care for a child in the neglect category of adverse childhood experience: physical neglect and emotional neglect. Physical neglect is failing to provide a child with the basic things they need, such as food, warmth, clothes, and somewhere to sleep. Emotional neglect is failing to provide a child with emotional interaction and warmth to the extent that their emotional needs are not met. The third category of adverse childhood experience is household dysfunction. The word dysfunction means an abnormality or impairment within a system. With household dysfunction, it's an abnormality or impairment of the household or the social system. There are 5 types of abnormality or impairment of the household or social system in the household dysfunction category of adverse childhood experience. There's family incarceration, family separation, domestic violence, substance abuse, and mental illness. Family incarceration means that a family member, usually someone who should be living with a child, is incarcerated in prison. Family separation means being involuntarily separated from an immediate family member, such as a parent or sibling. Domestic violence or domestic abuse means violent, aggressive, or manipulative behaviour within the home. This typically involves the abuse of a spouse or partner. Substance abuse means the use of drugs or alcohol in amounts or by methods that are harmful to the individual or others. Within household dysfunction, this substance abuse would be by individuals within or who visit the household. Mental illness means a condition which causes serious disorder in a person's behaviour or thinking. In household dysfunction, this mental illness would impair the household or care provided to the child. The 3 categories of adverse childhood experience are abuse, neglect, and household dysfunction. These defined experiences cover many of the adverse childhood experiences that a child might have. However, they don't cover them all. Essentially, any experience that is impairing on development or success or harmful would be classed as an adverse childhood experience. Children can experience one or many of these experiences, and they can have a significant impact. Adverse childhood experiences are what lead to childhood trauma. To find out more about childhood trauma and its impact, check out our video series on childhood trauma. Here's one final trauma-informed care top tip. Adverse childhood experiences is a really difficult topic to learn about and think about. But it is the foundation and the starting point for really helping our children who've had these types of experiences to heal. It's the foundation of being able to provide trauma-informed care. So learning about them has a real purpose for adults, learning about the impact and what we can do to support our children. So even though it's a difficult topic, we would recommend, if you're caring for or supporting a child who's had adverse childhood experiences, learning a little bit more about them so you can provide the best care possible and work towards trauma-informed care that can heal. For more information on adverse childhood experiences and childhood trauma and how we can help children, subscribe to Tribe for trauma-informed care in practice.